Right. So, friends, we will have a quick recap of what is artificial neural networks, and today we will be discussing perceptron and what are the capabilities of a perceptron. Then, what is a universal approximation theorem, right? Then we will also see couple of important terms like back propagation, then gradient descent, etc. Right. So let me share my screen. I've shared the screen, I think. So let me go through the presentation. Right. So introduction to artificial neural networks, ANN. In the last class, we have discussed this. So the concept of a neuron, the motivation or inspiration for creating a neuron, artificial neuron, it is straight away what we can say. It has been inherited from the concept of a biological neuron, right? So people have studied how a neuron will work, how our brain will work, which we have seen in our last class, right? So these collection of neurons, our brain is a very complex neural network, right? So what these neurons will do is they will take stimulus as input, means whatever actions and whatever thoughts are there in our mind, they act as stimulus, and based on those inputs, our neurons or our brain will make decisions, right? If you recollect, we have discussed a decision to go for a movie or not. So based on various parameters, a person may decide whether to go for a movie or not. Suppose maybe you will decide, like one student may want to go to any movie if the reviews are above 4, right, irrespective of the hero or heroine or director. And one student may be interested in going to a movie irrespective of the reviews. If the director is so and so, I would like to go to the movie. So based on your choice, based on your mindset, right, your brain is making decisions whether to go for a movie or not. Similarly, how the brain is actually functioning, we try to create an artificial neural network, right? The core idea is to import the concept of biological neurons, the way the brain works, the whatever natural intelligence we have got, whatever natural intelligence we have got because of our brain, can be simulated, can we impart that kind of natural intelligence to a computer. If that is possible, then it is called as artificial intelligence. So in that process, right, in that process, a first artificial neuron was created, right? It is called as MP neuron. It was created in the year 1943. So how a MP neuron will look like, which is a very fundamental concept in our subject, my dear friends, right? So how a MP neuron will look like? So a neuron will look like this, right? It will take one or many inputs. A function will be applied on these inputs, means these inputs are processed, and whatever result I will get, right? So see here on the left hand side, g of x is a function applied on all these inputs, and whatever result I get from g of x, it is applied to another function called as f of g of x. So this function will decide what will be the output, final output of the neuron, y value, whether it should be 1 or 0, whether the neuron should be activated or not activated, whether the decision of going to a movie will be taken or we are not going to a movie. Like that, y value will depend on f of g of x. So whatever value g of x I'll get, now f is a function which will look for certain threshold value. So if g of x is greater than or equal to that threshold, if g of x is satisfying that threshold, then f will return 1 as the output. If g of x does not meet the threshold value, then f of g of x will return 0. So this is a normal artificial neuron, a single neuron. It will look like this, and this is the functionality of a single neuron. And the neuron will always take, MP neuron will always take Boolean inputs, and it generates a Boolean output. That is an important point everyone should note. Then what is a neural network, artificial neural network? So one neuron we have seen, if we connect these neurons, systematically, right, in order to achieve certain goal, or in order to perform certain tasks, if we connect them, network of neurons is called as neural network. Network of neurons is called as neural network. Of course, these are not biological neurons. They are not part of our brain. They are artificial neurons. So the network is also an artificial neural network. So this is how a ANN will look like. Next. So this we have seen, like with the help of a neural network or with the help of a neuron, we can implement some Boolean functions, right? So an example we have seen, like x1, x2 are inputs, and this value 2 represents, it means that the value 2 here represents like sum of x1 and x2. If it is 2, then the value of the neuron will be 1, the output will be 1, otherwise 0. Means it's a simple and function. It's a simple and function, right? So you can relate this and function with any one of the example. For example, like x1 is like director, x2 is hero. If x1 and x2 are both matching my choice, then only I'll go for that movie, something like that. So we try to perform a sigma operation or a summation. So if x1 is true, x2 is also true, then only I'll go for the movie, or then only the neuron will be activated. Y value is 1, right? So this is a simple AND function. Now what we have done is, in the last class, very important observation we have made, friends, right? With two inputs I will get four combinations. With two inputs I'll get four combinations. X1, x2 means 0 0 0 1 1 0 and 1 1. Now what is the output of an AND gate? If both inputs are 1, then the output will be 1. So what I am trying to do is, I am trying to plot them. I am trying to plot them on a plane. So this is my 0 0, this is 1 0, 0 1 and 1 1. Now an important point which everyone has to observe and everyone has to understand is I'm sorry. So the important observation here is, when is our output, when our neuron will fire, or when our neurons output will be 1, when our neurons output will be 1, if both x1 and x2 are 1, means if I add x1 and x2, if the sum is 2, then if the sum is 2, then the neuron will fire. So which combination is giving me output as 1? 1 1 combination is giving me output as 1. So I would like to draw a line. Because what is a line, sir? Definition of a line: line generally connects the dots, or it will connect the points. So what I am doing is, I am drawing a line which connects 1 1, which is passing through 1 1. I am drawing a line. Please observe this carefully. Yesterday also we have discussed it. Once again I am sharing this. I am drawing a line which is passing through 1 1. I could have drawn the line in a different manner also, so that it can pass through 1 1. But why specifically I have drawn a line something like this, which is passing through 1 1? If you observe this line, gives an important observation. This line separates our outputs. How many outputs I will get? Either 0 or 1. Now if you observe, below this line, my 0 1 combination is there, for which output is 0. 0 0 combination is there, for which output is 0. 1 0 combination is there, for which output is 0. Means below this line, all the categories where output is 0, they fall under the line, below the line. Whereas when the output is 1, right, output is 1 only when the inputs are 1 and 1, which is coming on the line. So on the line and above the line, right, all the positive outcomes will come. Below the line, negative outcomes will come. So if we can separate a linear equation like this, or if we can separate our outputs, if we can partition our outputs like this, then the problem is said to be Linearly separable. Linearly separable. It is an important word, very, very important word, right? So I hope we have discussed it anyhow in the last class, but still I have repeated this because it's an important fundamental concept. So what is linearly separable means if you can draw a line which will separate the outcomes. So below the line, all positive outcomes, above the line, negative outcomes, or below the line, negative outcomes, above the line or on top of the line, you have positive outcomes like that. If you can separate them, then it is called as linearly separable problem, right? So now there is one more important input. Please observe this. This is again a MP neuron, but friends, if you observe, there is one input which is shown in red color. There is one input which is shown in red color. It is called as inhibitory input. Inhibitory input. Inhibitory input means irrespective of other inputs, irrespective of x1, x2, x3, and xn, the output will remain 0 if the inhibitory input is turned on. Inhibitory input. Inhibitory input means if it is turned on, the output will be 0, whatever may be the values of x1, x2, x3. Right? For example, I'll give you an example, sir. Tomorrow, just imagine, tomorrow there is an external sorry, tomorrow there is a movie release. Tomorrow there is a movie release. It is a Power Star Pawan Kalyan movie is getting released, and director is Trivikram. Right, like that. X1 is a very famous hero. X2 is a famous director. X3 reviews are good or something like that. So it's a very, very good movie. So everyone, all students, they want to go to that movie. Some people want to go to that movie because the hero is Pawan Kalyan. Some people want to go to that movie because the hero director is Trivikram. Some students want to go to that movie because ratings were very, very good, right? Our predictions were very, very good. And some people just want to go to that movie because it is a movie, right? Because it is a movie, because there are so many people in our country, right? They will watch any movie, right? So there can be such people also. So just imagine, tomorrow all third year CSE students have decided to go for a movie. Tomorrow all third year students have decided to go for that movie because of their own respective choices. Some people have decided because hero was Pawan Kalyan, right? Some people's choice was director. Some people's choice was ratings or predictions. Some people just want to see any movie, right? Some people are going to the movie because their friends are going. Like that, whatever may be the reason, everyone has decided to go to the movie tomorrow. Now, today evening, I have announced that tomorrow I am conducting a lab exam, or tomorrow there is a placement drive. Now, what will happen? What will happen? Or if I to make it more clear, I can give one more example. Like, every one of you have decided to go to that movie tomorrow. Today evening, Modi has announced a Janta curfew or a lockdown from tomorrow onwards. Now, what will happen? Whether it is your favorite movie or whatever may be the parameter, you cannot go to the movie, right? Because I told you tomorrow there is a placement drive, or tomorrow there is a lab exam. Then what will happen? Irrespective of X1, X2, X3, whether it is favorite hero, favorite director, or favorite heroine, nothing doing. You are supposed to come to the college. So, what is inhibitory input? Inhibitory input is an input which will force the output to be 0 irrespective of remaining inputs. Irrespective of remaining inputs. So what is inhibitory input? Is it clear to everyone? What do you mean by inhibitory input? Is it clear to everyone? Please respond. What is inhibitory input? Right. So we will move on. MP neuron limitations. This is also an important point, my dear friends. Right. Only Boolean inputs means it will take only Boolean inputs. So 1, 0, 0, 1, something like that. And output is also only Boolean output. Cannot implement all Boolean functions. This we have seen in the last class. XOR gate was an example, right? If you observe, we cannot implement XOR gate because I can't, it's not linearly separable. It's not linearly separable because output was 1 when the inputs are 0, 1 and 1, 0, right? So what will happen if I draw a line which is connecting 0, 1 and 1, 0, right? I'll just try to draw it with my pen. I'll just try to draw it. So this is what happens. Suppose this is the plane. Now if you observe, this origin is 0, 0. Origin is 0, 0. This is 0, 1. This is 1, 0. And this is 1, 1. So for my XOR, the truth table is 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. But when the output of XOR gate is true, when the output of XOR gate is true, this is 1, 0, 1, 0. This is 0, 1. And this is 1, 1. So there are 4 data points 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. Now what will be the output of XOR? When there are odd number of ones in the input, output will be 1. Means 1, 0, the output will be 1. 0, 1, output will be 1. 0, 0, output is 0, negative, output is 0. 1, 1 also output is 0. So if I try to draw a line which will connect my positive outcomes like 1, 0 and 0, 1, suppose I'll try to draw a line like this. I have drawn a line. Now, what is the meaning of linearly separable? If I draw a line, all positive outcomes should fall on one side, negative outcomes should fall on other side. But if you observe, for 0, 0 output is 0, which is below the line. But for 1, 1 also output is 0, but 1, 1 is above the line. Means this line is not really separating my problem. It is not linearly separable. Got the point? Whereas in AND gate we have seen it was linearly separable. So XOR is an example of linearly separable problem. XOR is not linearly separable because you are seeing it on the screen. It's not possible. See, below the line also I have one negative outcome. Above the line also I have one negative outcome. Right? Actually, if I draw a line, it should separate all negative outcomes on one side, positive outcomes on other side. If that is possible, we call it as linearly separable. But XOR is an example of a problem which is not linearly separable. So MP neuron in disadvantages, we also talk about this particular thing. It cannot implement all Boolean functions. Fourth important point, all inputs have equal importance. All inputs have equal importance means here if you observe here, see x1, x2, x3, we are not specifically mentioning like x1 is more important than x2, x1 is more important than x2, or x2 is more important than x3. Like that, we are saying like multiple inputs are there. There is a mathematical function called as g of x. Its value will be computed. If the threshold, if it is matching with the threshold, I'll trigger my neuron. Output is 1. Otherwise, output is 0. But are we mentioning like out of x1 and x2, x1 is more important than x2? No, we are assuming like all our inputs, either they are present, they are not present. That's all, right? Either x1 is present or not present. Either x1 is Pawan Kalyan or not Pawan Kalyan, right? x2 means Trivikram. If he is Trivikram, x2 will be 1. If he is not Trivikram, x2 will be 0. So we are only Boolean inputs means we are only taking presence or absence, right? If x1 is hero, then I'll write x1 as 1 only if the hero is Pawan Kalyan. Means in all remaining cases it will be 0. x2 will be 1 only if the director is Trivikram, otherwise in all cases it will be 0. So like that, if you observe, we are simply taking presence or absence of these inputs. Presence means 1, absence means 0. But are we giving some special consideration like x1 is more important than x2, or x2 is more important than x3? Like that, is there any chance of having different weightages for parameters? That is the point. So with MP neuron, it is not possible. All inputs have equal importance. But if you take real time examples, in many real time applications, we will talk about multiple inputs, and each input may have a different weightage also. So friends, what will happen, suppose if we talk about a real time application called as recommendation system. Recommendation systems you will find in e-commerce applications like Amazon, Flipkart, all those things, right? Suppose you want to buy a phone, right? So what are the parameters you will see? We have discussed it in the last class. Like some people told sir, RAM, ROM, then the brand, price, then what kind of processor it is using, right? Camera quality, some people have told. Like that, there are 5 or 6 parameters. But do you think every person will give highest importance to camera quality? No. Some people may give more importance to camera quality. Some people may give more importance to RAM. Some people may give more importance to internal memory, right? Internal storage. So like that, weightages means if I have multiple parameters, right? In many real time cases, parameters may have varying weightages or importance. Do you accept this point? All inputs cannot have equal importance. All inputs may have different importance. Do you accept this? Please respond. Do you accept this? Yes. Fine. So since varying importance is an important point, and MP neuron does not support that. So friends, what happened is MP neuron limitations we have seen, and uh, when MP neuron was found to have some limited functionalities, MP neuron was replaced with one more new concept called as perceptron. Perceptron. This is very important component of a neural network. Now, in our neural networks, we will be replacing or we will be using perceptron instead of MP neurons. So it is a neural network only, but we don't use normal neurons. We use perceptrons, right? So what is a perceptron? Inputs can have different weights. Please observe this: x1 weight 1, x2 weight 2, x3 weight 3, x4 weight 4, like that. Then I'm doing a summation on all these things, then followed by an activation function. So this activation function is like our f of g of x. So this is my g of x, this is f of g of x. So activation function will decide when to activate this output variable, when to activate this final outcome, whether it is 1 or 0, right? So what is the difference between a neuron and perceptron? Inputs can have different weights. Inputs can have different weights. Inputs and outputs need not be Boolean. Need not be Boolean means it can be real values also, and it can implement all Boolean functions. including XOR, but not with a single perceptron. If I go with multi-layer perceptron, it is possible to implement multi-layer perceptron. It is possible to implement XOR function also. Single perceptron cannot implement XOR, but with multi-layer perceptron it is possible. So I have written it can implement all Boolean functions, right? So the important point here is single perceptron cannot implement XOR operation, but multi-layer perceptron can do it. That's the reason we are writing it as it can implement all Boolean functions. So 3 points we have observed: inputs do not have inputs can have weights. So that was the problem in neuron. Then inputs and outputs need not be Boolean. That was also a problem with neuron. It was taking only Boolean values, giving only Boolean output. So problem was addressed in perceptron. And it cannot handle all kinds of Boolean functions. Multi-layer perceptron can handle. So whatever limitations of neuron were found, it was replaced with perceptron. So if you observe here, friends, there is an important component called as for every input, there is a weight. For every input, there is a weight, right? Now the important point is, suppose just try to relate this with our movie example. Like I want to guess whether a person will go for a movie or not, right? So what I need to do is, one second, where is my pen? Let me use my pen. All right, so let me clear this. So here if you observe, for every input there is a weight, x1, x2, x3, then xn, like that. Now friends, for example, x1 represents name of the hero, means who is the hero of this movie, right? Now how much weightage I should give for hero, whether hero is more important or director. So how much weightage I should give to director, how much weightage I should give to heroine of the movie, or how much weightage I should give to genre of the movie, what type of movie it is, it's a horror movie, social fantasy, like that. So now you tell me, if this is a neural, this is a perceptron which I am trying to create, and it should predict whether a person should go for a movie or not. You tell me what should be the weights of x1, x2, x3. For example, x1 is hero, x1 is hero, x2 is director, x3 is heroine, x4 is genre. Like that, let us say there are 4 parameters. Then what should be the initial weight you will give for x1, x2, x3, x4? Can you predict what should be the initial weight? This is an important question. What should be the initial weight? What should be the initial weight? Please predict. 0. Any other answer? 10. If it is equal, then we will go back to MP neuron. No. If all are equal, then it will go back to MP neuron. So it should not be equal. That's the reason we introduced the concept of weights. If it is 0, means it is of no importance. So it can't be 0 also. We will change latter according to their wish. No, it's not according to their wish, but that is true. You have almost who is this 572? 572. What is your name, dear? We will change later. Pooja. Okay. So, Pooja, you have almost reached the answer, right? I appreciate you. We will change it later, but not according to their wish, right? See, our outcome is to create a model, and the model should start predicting things. Now, the problem here is it's not a problem, in fact. So here what we will do is randomly we will assign weights to all parameters. Randomly we will assign weights to all parameters, and that is what machine learning. So what we do is we will train this perceptron, or we will train this machine learning model. So when we use the concept of learning, when the perceptron gets the knowledge, when the model is trained, during that process I will upgrade the weights. So initially what will happen is I will randomly apply the weights. So what will happen? My perceptron will generate some output. Means ultimately perceptron is making some decisions, right? So just imagine the decisions made by the perceptron, they are 50% wrong. Means the weights which I have assigned are not up to the mark. So 50% of the decisions made by the perceptron are incorrect. Only 50% is the success rate. So what I will do, I will learn from my experience. I'll make necessary changes in the weights, and I'll see whether this 50% became 60 or not, accuracy. Then again I further try to improve it. So over a period of time, my perceptron will learn things, right? My perceptron will learn. When my perceptron is, when I use the word perceptron is learning, it means that I am training my perceptron, right? So what is the objective or goal of perceptron learning is perceptron learning or training the perceptron. The goal of perceptron learning is to reach to convergence. Convergence is not a new word. We have discussed this word even in our recent classes. Convergence means what? Consolidating, coming to a common point, like expected answer is 3.5, answer generated was 3.2. So there is some difference, right? So how much close I can come to the expected value or the correct value. So convergence is a point where we can say there is no error. So initially my perceptron was giving me 50% wrong answers. So 50% is the accuracy, only 50%, because random weights were used. Now I'll make changes in the weights and I'll see whether this 50% accuracy can be brought to 60, 70, 80, like that. So that is called as perceptron learning. So perceptron learning algorithm is there, which we will be discussing probably in our next class before we in the next class, right? Perceptron learning algorithm we will see, which is very, very important. So what is perceptron? Perceptron is nothing but just like MP neuron, but for every input there will be a weight. That is the difference. For every input there is a weight, and inputs need not be Boolean. Inputs need not be Boolean, right? We'll move on. I hope what is perceptron is clear. Next, UAT, Universal Approximation Theorem. Spelling mistake, approximation, O is missing. So Universal Approximation Theorem, what this theorem says is a multi-layered network of neurons, network of neurons can approximate any continuous function to any desired precision. It means that a neural network can be used to implement any kind of function to a maximum degree of precision, means accuracy. So the only thing is that more number of networks you have to use, more number of layers will come, right? So what UAT says is universal approximation theorem means a multi-layered neural network can be used to implement anything. That is what in one line we can say UAT says that a multi-layered neural network can implement any function. So it can be used to implement anything. That is what is the meaning of UAT. Now, common algorithm used to train the neural networks, or deep neural networks is back propagation. Common algorithm used to train the neural networks or deep neural networks is back propagation algorithm. Back propagation algorithm was developed in the year 1986. So we will use back propagation along with gradient descent. Back propagation, we will be using algorithm back propagation for training our neural networks along with gradient descent. So what is gradient descent? What is back propagation? We will understand in detail in our upcoming classes. Now here, if you observe, I made a statement: common algorithm to train neural networks or deep neural networks is back propagation. So what is the difference between a neural network and a deep neural network? Please try to understand. There are two words: neural network, deep neural network. So what is the difference between a neural network and a deep neural network? This slide will tell you what is the difference between a neural network and deep neural network. A normal neural network will have a single layer between input and output. This blue color is my input layer. Green is my output layer. In between input and output, I have one more layer, which is generally called as hidden layer. So how many hidden layers I have in a normal neural network? Generally, I have one hidden layer. So that is called a simple neural network. So neural networks, people use the word deep learning, machine learning, deep learning. Deep learning is nothing but application of deep neural networks. So what is a deep neural network? Means it is more complex neural network between input and output. See here in this diagram, how many hidden layers are there? There are many hidden layers. It need not be 4, it can be 4, 5, 10, it can be 21, it can be 152, like that. Hundreds of layers you can have. So between input and output, I can have any number of hidden layers. More the hidden layers I have, more will be the complexity of my neural network, right? So when I have more number of hidden layers, then I use the word deep neural network. So deep learning, you might have heard the word deep learning. Deep learning is also one form of machine learning. I told you in my first class, right? I've shown you the relationship between AI, ML, deep learning, all those things. So DL is one form of ML, I told you. So what is deep learning? It is nothing but application of deep neural network. What is deep neural network? It is same as neural network, but with many hidden layers. So this is what is the difference between a neural network and deep neural network. Now what we need to understand is, if a perceptron looks like this and if there are some weights, how do I assign weights and how do I modify the weights? How do I train my perceptron so that the weights are improved, weights are refined, and the outcome of my perceptron will always try to give correct value, means expected value, generated value should match. So if out of 10 cases, if 8 to 9 times if my perceptron is giving me correct value, means 90% accuracy, then I accept it, it's good. But I may not get 100%, but anything above 90 is considered to be a good output. But if the perceptron is giving me 50% success rate, then I need to improve my perceptron, I need to make some changes in the weights. And what we need to understand is, what will be the value of weights initially and how weights are modified. Right outcome is to reach to convergence. So for that we need to understand perceptron learning algorithm. Perceptron learning algorithm. So perceptron learning algorithm we will discuss in our next class. So till this point, if you have any doubts, please let me know. Right. So if you have any doubts, please let me know. Sir, can I have infinite hidden layers? If you have infinite hidden layers, when you will get the result? Why we are using deep neural networks? To solve some complex problems, right? So if you have infinite hidden layers, when you will get the result? You will never get the result, right? So generally hundreds of hidden layers is also possible. There are some examples where 152 hidden layers were also used by Microsoft in one of the application which they have created. I'll give you the list also, the list of such applications. But if it is infinite, then you will never get the output, no? So the purpose is not served. No, there is no limit on hidden layers, 514. There is no limit. I told you, no, there are some examples like 8 layers, 19 layers, 152 layers. I'll give you examples of some products, some neural networks which are very, very famous. AlexNet is one neural network in which we have 8 layers, and ZFNet we have 8 layers, VGGNet we have 19 layers, Google Net we have 22 layers, and Microsoft RSNet there are 152 layers. So as such there is no limit. As such there is no limit on the number of hidden layers. But remember, if the number of hidden layers are increasing, the complexity will increase. Lot of computation has to be done. That's the reason in all these deep neural networks, what will happen is our normal computers are not sufficient. They can't handle. CPUs are not enough. So that's the reason people are using GPUs, graphical processing units. I hope you people are aware of GPUs, right? So with a normal desktop or laptop with a CPU, you can't really apply deep neural networks. Applications of neural networks. H0 is asking what are the applications of neural networks. Applications of neural networks, let me type in the chat box. It can be used, it is being used everywhere. For example, image processing, right? Computer vision, what we say, healthcare means this, what we say, uh, diagnostic applications. So in healthcare, it is being used, healthcare applications. Then neural networks are being used in complex deep neural networks are being used in this, what we say, robotic navigation, right? Then even in this, what we say, autonomous vehicles, means driverless car, autonomous vehicles, right? And in many e-commerce applications also we use e-commerce applications, right? And this, what we say, uh, your satellite data will be processed, satellite application data will be processed. So even in that area also, these neural networks are applicable, right? So in neural networks we have in fact many types of neural networks. Like we have convolutional neural networks which is called as CNN. We have recurrent neural networks which are called as RNNs, and you have feed forward neural networks. So like that we have types of neural networks, and each type will be used in a specific type of application. So what is the, sir, each will have, yes, yes, each neural network will have different purpose. For example, if you are dealing with images, CNN is suitable for images, is good for image processing, right? Suppose if you are dealing with sequences, like I need to generate what we say, captions for a video, subtitles, subtitles. So if I want to generate some sequences, right? You speak something, I need to translate audio to text, speech to text conversion. I need to generate sequences. No, suppose I am speaking. My name is Ram Mohan Rao. I'll be teaching machine learning to computer science graduates. I'm speaking something, so it should be converted into text. So in such applications, what is the output? It's a sequence of words. So when you're dealing with sequences, then you can go for recurrent neural networks. So RNN is good for what we say, sequences, right? Suppose if you want to study some probability distributions, you have one form of neural networks, deep neural networks, called as GAN, right? Generative adversarial networks, GANs are there, right? So like that, we have variety of neural networks, and each neural network, as someone was asking, each neural network is useful in a particular type of application, right? So if you want even that what we say, types of neural networks and their application areas, even that can be discussed in detail, probably in our next class. So in our next class, we will be discussing perceptron learning algorithm. And if you don't understand perceptron learning algorithm, if you don't understand what is gradient descent, you will not understand anything in this subject, right? I'm not able to see this 514. You have GIFs. I didn't. Acha, okay, sir. Fine. So today's class is clear to everyone, because perceptron learning algorithm we will be discussing in our next class. So today's class is clear to everyone. Please let me know. Please let me know in the chat box, and we will wind up. Right. So in tomorrow's class, we will discuss perceptron learning algorithm. Okay, friends. Thank you. Thank you very much.